Hey, Alex, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm really excited to get to know you and the company that you've started. But first, let's start with a little bit of a background. Since you are an investor, you sort of understand this process.
Yes.
Let's start. You've already created a couple of companies and have had successful
Mhm.
exits. So let's start with that. Tell us that background and what sort of brought you to this company.
Perfect. First off, thanks for taking the time and thanks for interviewing me and giving me the opportunity to tell you more about myself and 11Sight. 11Sight is my third venture funded company. So I myself did my PhD at UC Berkeley. That was like back in 95. And back then, one of our colleagues, my colleagues at school, was Farah Haskafi. And we weren't academically minded sufficiently. We were a lot more entrepreneurial minded. So our goal afterwards was to do a venture funded startup. And indeed, within a year or two of finishing our PhD, we managed to raise 3 million to do a company in the telco space. Now, times were different. Back then, you either raised 0 or 3. There was nothing in between. We didn't quite know what we were doing, but we were like, I tell people, we're on this river. It was flowing downstream. We just jumped onto a raft. There were VCs that were talking the same language, accountants, lawyers, and we picked it up along the way. You know what, and anti-dilution protection, broad-based anti-dilution, and liquidation rights, piggyback registration. But we managed to raise that 3 million, and our first startup was in the telco space, and we focused on the convergence of the various telco verticals, wireless internet. This is a time when Netscape is new, cell phones, Motorola StarTAC, SMS. So our first solution was come to our websites, tell us what you are interested in. We'll send you SMS messages that are relevant, stock prices, team results, horoscope, and so forth. And that product we launched in about 2000, and that's when the market was going up and down. But one of our competitors had managed to go public, so they had 100 million in the bank, so they came and acquired us. So we were lucky that despite the downturn in the economy, we managed to make money for ourselves and for our investors. So that was our first positive exit. And then both Farah and I saw RFID. He is a more technical guy, so he said, oh, I'm going to build a better RFID chip. And I said, I can leverage RFID to build a point solution. So in today's language, what I did was an IoT company in the cloud that made the supply chain more efficient. Back then, those words didn't exist. So we called ourselves a yard management, SaaS-based yard management company that used RFID to manage the life cycle of trailers in distribution center and manufacturing plant yards. Now, part of build a different RFID chip on the side to do asset location tracking. And again, we were both successful. Both companies ultimately had a positive exit. He sold to Maxim Integrated. I ran the company for 10 years, hired professional management, didn't work out, let them go, hired another set. And ultimately at the 10-year mark, this was 2014, 2015, I said, okay, if I go to work every day, the outcome is not going to change. Let me do something else. So at that point in time, both Farah and I had made money for our investors twice. We started talking, and one thing led to the other, and we said, okay, we'll do one more startup. And that brings us to 11Sight.
Fantastic. So this is, thank you for that background, by the way. That makes a lot of sense. And this essentially brings us to about 2016 when you started this company. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, the concept is very interesting. I know the vision was video, and even back then, 4 or 5 years ago, you thought that video was the future. Now we sort of know that it was. But tell us sort of what the problem that was that you were trying to address beyond, Zoom and, all these other guys were already in the market at the time. What was the unique thing that you wanted to go after?
So we saw the need for this in our daily lives. Like Farah lived in New York for a while. He owns a property. The tenants called, they complained something is not working. And he's like, can you show me? right? There is no good way to have that video conversation.
Right.
I had like my mother-in-law living with us, and she was somewhat disabled, no longer able to go out. But when we went out, I would call her and show her, the produce we are buying and saying, hey, which one should we get? So an elderly person living at home, not having access elsewhere, who would like to have eyes on the street to do shopping for them.
Right.
I think at my second company, we had hardware in the field. The customer would call and complain and says, oh, this is not working. And we would dispatch a person, and it turns out that all you needed to do was make sure you jiggle the cable a little bit and it's plugged in properly. So right. All along, we saw this need that if a customer can call a business and say, this is my problem, right? If I can actually call a contractor and say, I need fix for plumbing, can you give me an estimate? I want to buy a car, but do I really want to drive all the way to the dealership not knowing if they have the car I want? The picture on the website looks great, but this is a used car. Can I trust it that the pictures have not been photoshopped? Can I have a live video walk around it? So we saw this very broad need for video. We were aware of what Zoom was doing, and Blue Jeans for that matter, or GoToMeeting, WebEx, Whereby. So we said, okay, that meeting part of the video market, there are already a lot of players there. It's a very large market, but we cannot have enough of a voice as a startup.
Right.
And then we looked at, WhatsApp, Skype, and FaceTime. And those are sort of consumer-oriented spaces. And we are not consumer people, we are B2B type of, that's our DNA, the last two startups we both did. So we said, okay, we want to sell to businesses, we want to solve a business problem, and we want to essentially be the next generation 800 number, where the number is replaced with a URL. And at the time, there were also like all these text chat tools in the lower right corner of websites. We said, okay, it's the next generation of the text support, text sale, which is sort of a next generation to the 800 number. So that's basically broadly where we saw the opportunity. I mean, the other opportunity we saw that everybody had a device with a camera and internet bandwidth was going up. So within this opportunity, there are a lot of needs. So which need do you address? And we said, okay, we're going to transform sales and support for profit centers.
Got it.
And that's basically where we positioned 11Sight. And that's why today, companies like Fiat, Mercedes, Suzuki, Toyota are our customers, because a car is like a $50,000 ticket. And you definitely need human interaction to buy that. You're not just going to buy it like a $12 t-shirt on Amazon. And the company, the business who is selling it to you is also more than happy to talk to you for an hour or two on video or in a meeting or in person, because there is a large enough margin on that transaction to warrant the time spent.
Right. So let's, I definitely want to talk a little more about the exact use cases and the customers you have right now. But before we get there, tell me a little bit more about Farak, who's sort of your CTO. You mentioned him a few times already.
Yes.
It seems like you have, close to 25, maybe 30 years of experience with him. Tell me a little bit more about his background and the skill set he brings.
So we both were PhD students at UC Berkeley.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Deep down, there are engineers in us. Deep down, there are entrepreneurs in us. But we also have this knack for seeing a technology and saying, hey, let's take this and apply it here, because nobody thought of using it here. That will transform the way problems are solved in this space. And back at when we were students, we were working on automated highways. And the sentence, someday you're going to get into your car, drive it to the highway, punch in your destination, hands off, feet off. The car will take you to the exit and give control back to you. I probably repeated that hundreds of times, because we were building this proof of concept along with General Motors, Caltrans, Carnegie Mellon, and so forth, of what future automated cars, highways would look like. So Farah was in the details of the algorithms and the control systems, the gas pedals. I was building simulation of all that. And then I was the one also talking and explaining dignitaries who came to see it. So he and I were basically co-founders of our first company, HotelNet. He was the CTO there as well, where we built the solution that I described. He then afterwards said, okay, I will build a better RFID chip. So his technical background is basically both of it is in systems. He is in a lot more detail of hardware, software integration, software implementation. And so he decided to build a new RFID chip that would do asset location tracking. And he ultimately sold that company to Maxim Integrated. And Maxim used that like to know where a keychain is with respect to the car. Are you pressing the on off right next to the car, or are you actually much further away and you are trying to sort of steal that car? So that was the security application that they were working on. So yeah, I mean, we have basically done one startup together, one separate. This is the third one, but even at the university, we're working together a lot.
Got it. Okay, that's fantastic. And he does seem more like a technical person. So now that actually is a perfect transition to the product that you're developing at 11Sight. You already mentioned, we have other solutions, Zoom, we have FaceTime for cell phones. This is the software you're trying to develop, or you have developed, is very unique in that there's no phone number, there's no setting up meeting ahead of time, making sure we have the email. This is very unique, right? So tell me exactly what I do to connect with you. What does the product do?
So we are our first customer. If you come to our website, in the lower right corner, you will see a button that you click, it will open, says call sales, call support.
Got it.
At that level, you are not calling an individual. You are calling the sales department. Somebody from sales will pick up. Now, we are a smaller company. There is no receptionist who is going to pick up, who will then transfer the call to me or the right salesperson. But that feature is definitely available. So what's going to happen when you call sales is 3 people in the company, our devices will ring. Our PC will ring, my phone would ring, and we would answer. So there we make immediate eye contact with our customers. You can also go to the contact page, find my picture, and click the button underneath that. That's sort of my direct line. And my devices, and only my devices, will ring, and you will access me.
Got it.
Now, the value of this...
So I was going to say, this is almost like a phone number in that it's a direct URL, direct link to whomever you want to speak with.
Yeah, so I have that in my email signature, vcall.link/Aleks Gollu. As a QR code, I have it on my business card, which in the last 9 months I haven't given to anyone, but...
We're definitely going to get into that also.
Click and call me. But I mean, there is tremendous value in being able to answer a customer right when they want it. I'll give you an example. This was like December 30th or so, on Friday, on a Sunday night. We were about to sit for dinner and our sales line was run. I picked up, and we do a lot of LinkedIn campaigns and various marketing campaigns. So one of those people, I guess sitting home on a Sunday night going through his messages, said, oh, let me see what happens. And he was amazed that with one click, he was making eye contact with me. So they have subsequently became a customer. It's a real estate company. And he basically said, this is what our agents need to do.
Right. No, that's absolutely right. And so you sort of just touched on this, but let's jump into it. Until March of 2020, things were very different. After March 2020, things have changed significantly. So tell me how that has impacted 11Sight and specifically the technology that you're developing.
So I'll be a little bit philosophical about this. Like, there are two ways you can do a startup, right? So one is you pick a very well understood problem and you have a faster, better, cheaper solution. So customers already know how to buy this, and if you are faster, better, cheaper in a crowded market, you stand out.
Yeah.
In all of our companies, both Farooq and I, we were a bit more on the opportunity based, look at trends, predict what the future holds, right? SMS applications and in Netscape were bleeding edge at the time, or RFID was bleeding edge. So you are making a certain amount of a bet that some things will come to fruition. Because when we first imagined this one-click video call, even the standards like WebRTC were not fully adapted. So we made a bet, and Apple, who resisted it, could have easily said, no, we are not going to implement this. If you want a video call on an iPhone, you have to use FaceTime, nothing else. And we said, no, they are not going to win that battle, right? So, but then if you do an opportunity-based need that you have identified and you said, okay, people will see that a video call saves them time. It allows them to bring better service, accelerates the sales, then they will use this. So last year around this time, we had a lot of success in automotive, but beyond that, we had limited success. And even in automotive, while we had all the case studies, some other customers or prospects were sort of thinking, do we want to do this or not? Because our solution went to production in 2018. So we did a pilot with Fiat, and they became a customer in 2019. So, and then COVID hit, and everybody is now stuck at home. All the customers who were telling us, oh, let the customer come to us and then we will talk to them, realize that, look, there is a much better way of interacting with your customers online. It's better for the customer, it's better for the business, it's more efficient, it accelerates sales. So the business took off. Back then, we had already shown that a video call started interaction with a customer has 3x more likely conversion than any other internet lead. So you can text with somebody, but that's not going to go anywhere. Whereas if you make eye contact, that engenders trust and that builds a relationship. We also saw that the resulting experience, both for the sales guy and the customer, is much better, and the customer satisfaction index goes up 20%. So what happened was, and we had talked to a lot of potential value-added resellers, other solution providers in the vertical, and saying, look, video should really be part of your solution, right? Integrated into it. You are already selling into the dealerships, you should sell. So what happened last March is the market arrived overnight, as opposed to slowly getting there overnight, and Zoom was there, so they took their chunk. And in the automotive segment, we had a mini Zoom experience as well, because all these prospects that we had been talking to, who were sort of evaluating and trying to decide, next thing you know, April, May, June, all of them became customers.
Right.
So we are now basically, we have a stronghold in automotive, and we then basically that allowed us to close the loop with our customers. And that has the value that the next set of features you build in are the feature requests coming in from your customers. Right?
Got it. Yep. So here is I still am now. Let's focus on the product itself, and I want to make sure I understand the use case. That if I am on GM's or Fiat's website, and I'm looking at a couple of pictures I see something that I like, then I click on that chatbot to start a conversation with the dealer. Is that about right?
That is exactly it. Is that if there is a video call button on that, you click, and that puts you in touch, eye contact with a salesperson. Now, implementations vary because they may ask you where they may determine where you are located. So they may send you to a given dealership, or somebody in a central location may answer, talk to you, and transfer the call to a dealership. Some companies have like hired a business development center type of approach. So you talk to somebody who then assesses you and sends you to the dealership. But those are all the options. It's like with one click, you get to talk to somebody.
Got it. So you're only providing the platform. You're not necessarily running a call center on the back end, receiving all of these calls. Okay.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, no, we aren't even in the business of training individual dealerships.
Got it. Right.
Because I mean, yes, there is all the help material, there is the do-it-yourself, but we are focusing enterprises that would buy 100+ lines from us. We train the trainers and they train their entire user base. And not much training is needed, right? I mean, if all you want to do is answer a call, then you don't need to know anything. But there is a lot of marketing capabilities in the product, so that, you know, when you are running a campaign and the campaign is, the call to action is a video call, then you know if the video call comes in, which campaign it came from. So those type of aliases and trackers and so forth. So that does require some degree of.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. You already mentioned QR codes you can have on your business card. I'm assuming you can put that QR code in a newspaper ad if you wanted to, or a web ad. Where people can scan and get in touch with the receptionist in your office. So tell me a little bit more about what are the different ways your customer can use your service and connect and make it easy to connect instead of giving out a phone number or something.
Yes. So, I mean, essentially, we are almost like an omni-channel tool because we work in print. You can put QR codes people can scan. In your email, you can put it in your signature. If you have a Google ad or a Facebook ad, the call to action easily can be a video call. Because the beauty of it is at the end, vcall.link/Aleks Gollu. All you need to do is put that in a browser.
Right.
So the QR code does that. The Facebook click does that. So in all of them, you do it. But then you also brought up a very good point without giving out the phone number, right? So essentially, we protect the privacy of both sides. Right? If I'm a customer calling a dealership, I don't want to tell them who I am. If I don't want to, I don't have to, because there is no phone number. I can almost anonymously call that dealership. Right? I don't need to tell them who I am first. But then if I'm a salesperson or if I'm a support person, I'm also not giving you my phone number. I'm giving you my video call link, and it comes with a whole set of features. I mean, you can call me between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. My devices will ring, but at 10 p.m. I say, okay, done. Right. So then the service is turned off, and you will go to my voicemail that says it's after hours, leave a message, I'll get back to you. Right. So we give control also to the business as to when they are working and who is working and who is answering. We also provide all the visibility to that if this is a sales line where we rang 3 people's phones, who answered and how long was the call. We can even record it for quality assurance and training purposes.
Got it. No, and I really like this idea. And because you're using a web browser and just a link, there's no software that the customer has to download. What are the requirements? So tell me what the requirements are.
That was sort of the crux at the early on. We said it needs to be no downloads, no appointments, no friending, no nothing for the customer. Just click and it should happen. Now, that means that they need to have a device with a camera, like a cell phone, iOS or Android, or a laptop or a Mac or a Windows device. And the fact is, pretty much every consumer or everybody who works in business has that. And if you are our customer, you are an enterprise, all of the people working for you have that. So we give full device independence to everybody. I mean, I'm sure you use WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is tied to this phone. I cannot pick up on my iOS tablet a WhatsApp call. If I transfer it there, then I can't pick it up here. That's a pain. And so we said all of those friction points have to go away.
Right.
One click. And we even have a pending patent around one click and one scan calls.
Oh, fantastic.
We based
Okay.
that on the Amazon patent.
Got it. Okay. This is really interesting. So tell me how many customers, ballpark, again, you don't have to give exact numbers, but how many customers and users you have on your platform now? And what does 2021 look like?
So we have,
Oh,
gonna decline that. Let me mute this because it also beeped earlier.
yep.
So we have some 15, 20 customers. They are not all equal because some of them are just at the early stages. They have bought like 5 lines from us, but some other customers are worth 30K a year, 16K a year to us. And the nice thing is they are growing customers. Like we had 250, 300K in revenues last year. If our existing customers and value-added resellers grow their user base as they are projecting, we will double our revenues like that, just with that.
With existing customers.
Right, with existing customers and value-added resellers. Again, we have enterprise customers who buy lines from us, and we have value-added resellers who are selling lines to their customers on our white label instance, right?
Got it.
So this year basically is our goal, our immediate goal is to reach 1 million ARR. That's some sort of a magic number where you can go to a VC and say, look, I have a provable business model. These are the verticals in which I'm succeeding. These are a couple others that I'm going to go after. Now is time for a bigger check.
Right.
Right. So we have basically been working diligently starting January 1st towards that bigger goal of reach 1 million ARR, establish another vertical. Maybe it's real estate. We are doing 2 different pilots. Maybe it is co-working spaces or virtual offices who will add this as a complementary capability to what they are offering to their tenants. We have some telehealth companies who want to use this as a support component. We have a very large customer who came to us and said, hey, like Zoom is good for generic meetings, but if this is a traffic court, then the judge should have very different capabilities than the defendant.
Right.
And so we have, and they are going to pay us to do that. So there are all these bets that we have that if 1 or 2 actually pan out, then we are at 1 million ARR. So the goal is to get there, raise the next round of financing, grow the sales team, grow the marketing team. We already know some of the people we'll hire to head the marketing team, to head the sales team. And that's basically what we are aiming at. Now, I'm sure you're going to say...
That goal is for 2021? The 1 million ARR?
1 million ARR is for this year, yes.
Okay.
So we have enough funds right now to basically go into Q3, even if we don't raise any more money or if we don't have any new business, even if our existing customers don't grow with us, right?
Got it.
So in that sense, we don't have immediate need for cash, but you raise money when you don't need it.
Yep, absolutely. That's a great point. So that's a fantastic goal for 2021 to be able to reach that. If you do reach that, you said you wanted to raise another round from VCs at that point, probably with a significantly higher valuation.
Yes.
What does the next 5 years look like, or 10 years look like? What kind of exit are you envisioning for the business?
So, I mean, this is the 3rd time Farukh and I doing a venture funded startup, right? So the first 2 were positive exits, but we actually did that with venture money day 1. So by the time the exit came, our ownership was in single digits. So this time we did it a little bit differently. We said, we're going to write the first checks. And we don't need to basically draw a salary right now. Right? We can accrue it, we can do something, but we don't need the cash. But instead, we basically are betting on it ourselves. And there is close to $300,000-$400,000 of our money in the company, both in initial capitalization as well as in the seed round, where occasionally we had to write the check. So our goal is, like in the first two companies, grow a large, successful business, right? We can easily see in 3-4 years having 50 million in revenues, and we have all the models. We understand like how many value-added resellers we need to add, how many enterprise customers, how fast they need to grow. The market size is not a limit. Like $86 billion is the overall video. 2.8 billion is just the profit centers, where if I just hire salespeople to use this, just salespeople, that's 2.8 billion. So we will build a large, profitable company that's going to be worth $1 billion at 20x revenue multiplier. But the reality is somewhere along the way, we'll get an offer we will not be able to refuse. I mean, if you look at Salesforce, they paid Slack 44x revenues.
Yep.
If you look at Zoom and Twilio, they have like 40 to 60x revenue to price revenue multipliers. Mm-hmm. So when I say we're going to be $1 billion company with 50 million revenues, that's only like 20x. Right? Yeah. I mean, that it's not going to stay at 40 to 60 multiplier in 3-4 years. But so that's basically where we are at is, okay, maybe we are not going to be 50x our revenues when we hit 1 million ARR, but if we are 25, that's already a 25 million valuation, right? Which basically almost doubles where we are at today. And then, so that's why we are also saying, hey, if we raise that next round at 1.5 million ARR as opposed to 1, then that's like 37 million valuation, because each dollar we make in revenues adds $25 in valuation.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so I really like the fact that you're well educated with numbers and you sort of understand the end game. But if at when you hit 1 million ARR and someone comes in and offers you 40x, is that interesting?
How can you say no?
Okay, got it. Okay.
So let me also add a little bit. I mean, so that was the quick answer, but there's always the disclaimers that, I mean, we as a management team always talk about this stuff openly. And I mean, any question you asked me, I answered openly, because the way I look at it is, the problem is difficult enough. It's almost like a chessboard. Even looking at all the pieces, you don't know what the right move is.
Right.
But so we do have some 25, 30 individual investors in the company. So our preferred seed round that has added up to 2.3 million. So if any such offer comes, obviously we'll talk to them too. I mean, last year around February, March, we did have an offer, and which would have meant that everybody would get their money back, but there was no upside.
Right.
And this was like before this COVID thing was taking place. And our investors said, Aleks, we didn't give you our money for you to give it back. We want you to keep working. And we said, okay, we'll keep working. And that was our preference too. But still, it's like you have to work with your investors.
No, of course.
Even though it's not a contractual requirement, what I do is every 6 weeks, I send out an email to our investors. I give them the good news, the bad news, where we are, what we need from them, because that's also sort of the boardroom culture in which we grew up since 98, that every 6 weeks, you sort of take a step back and you read your last board deck, what you said, where we are, where we're going to be, and then you say, okay, where are we now? I now have like sort of an email I send, and I go back and say, okay, what did we say we're going to do, where we are, and we share that openly. And we are therefore also quite selective in who we bring in as investors, because it's a team game.
Yep.
Like there are good moments, then there are tough spots, you go over it, you continue. And over the last 3-4 years, there definitely were tough spots, but it's all about persevering and enduring and finding a solution, moving to the next step.
Absolutely.
And then the end result is rewarding.
Yeah.
However horrible COVID has been for our day-to-day lives and many people, it's been very good to us.
Yeah. from a business standpoint, you've sort of benefited tremendously, it seems.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you so much for doing this. I think this has a lot of information that I was looking for as an investor, and I think other investors are looking for as well. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I left off? Or
I mean, I guess in terms of how much we are raising and what we are raising, so maybe I can repeat some of those. Do you want me to repeat those numbers?
The specific numbers are on the on our database, so this way, if someone is looking for them, they can always come in. I also want to share this video on YouTube and other places, so I don't want to get into this.
Oh, okay, perfect.
But anything else as far as the company goes, as far as your plans go?
No, I mean, we are all excited. We have come a lot further in the last year than we could imagine, both with our product and our footprint, because you are growing at a certain pace, and then all of a sudden there is this adoption, and then they all come to you with all these feature requests, so we were able to respond. So
fantastic.
We are happy.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much once again, Aleks. And I look forward to hopefully getting you the resources you need to continue on that trajectory and hopefully hit that goal for 2021.
And I mean, hopefully anybody and everybody who watches this will also call us as a customer, because revenues are king. We are looking for customers, partners, value-added resellers. So do come to our website, call us.
Go to 11sight.com and then click on your name so they can call you directly.
Yes. So 11Sight. So that's like one-on-one conversations. That's when we said, oh, 11Sight. The moment we wrote it down, we started reading it as 11Sight. And then we were thinking of changing it. But now that we have two products, one is one-on-one calls and one is the meeting rooms. So the product names are vCall and vMeet. So the company is 11Sight. It's the broader umbrella. The products are vCall and vMeet.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Aleks. I will look forward to talking to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Bye.